Hello, this is Artemis_anime, and today I am reading Some Ends Forgotten by human_person234. Trigger warnings: suicide, suicidal character, death, blood, and gore. Summary. What kind of quirk would make someone intangible, mute, and appear covered in blood? Hisashi blinked at him from across the dinner table. So, babe, you're describing a ghost, like textbook apparition. Shota meets a ghost on patrol and refuses to accept what's right in front of him. Whatever this kid's deal is, he's going to get to the bottom of it. The kid just appeared next to him one night as he was perched on a rooftop. One minute Shota was alone, the next there was a child sitting to his left, just dangling his feet over the edge of a 7-story building. Holy shit, kid! Where did you come from? The kid looked up at him in surprise, and Shota's breath caught in his throat. The boy was younger than Shota's student, a student in the local middle school, judging by his age and Gurakan. It was hard to make out the colors in the dark, but his hair was dark and his skin was pale and freckled. None of that was what caught Shota's attention, however. His eyes were fixed on the dark blood covering the left side of the kid's face. Way too much blood. How was this kid even up and moving around? Fuck, kid, what happened? Hold on, I can get you to a hospital. There's one not far from here. He reached out to place a hand on the kid's shoulder, but it went right through. What? He tried again with the same result. The kid had been watching him the whole time with a blank expression. After Shota's third attempt at grabbing the kid, he looked up and made eye contact. The kid just tilted his head to the side like he was asking a question. Kid, please don't take this the wrong way, but what the hell is wrong with you? The boy opened his mouth like he was speaking, but no sound came out. He scrunched his eyebrows together like he was concentrating, and once again tried to speak. Nothing. Shota was at a complete loss. What was this kid's quirk? What kind of quirk made you mute and permeable? He hadn't felt anything when his hand went through the kid's shoulder. Was he some kind of projection? He held his hands out uselessly on either side of the kid's shoulders. The kid wasn't looking at Shota anymore, instead gazing across the streets towards the city. Shota was about to say something else. He wasn't sure what yet, when a crack of a gunshot echoed through the night air. He whipped his head towards the source of the sound. It was very likely the gang member he was supposed to be tailing, but there was a bloody kid right in front of him, and rescue took precedence. He'd call in the gunshot and try again another night. But when he turned back to the rooftop, the kid was gone. Shota explored the rest of the roof, even the few neighboring buildings, but found nothing. Steeling himself, fearing the worst, he scoured the surrounding streets and alleys. Nothing. What the fuck? The kid showed up again a few weeks later. Shota hadn't been able to get him out of his mind. He'd gone back to the same rooftop every night he was on patrol, but there was no sign of a kid. He'd asked Tsukuchi to check for any reports of domestic violence, assault, anything involving a middle schooler, but nothing came up. He'd looked for projection quirks, permeability quirks, anything remotely similar, but nothing matched. Shota had even combed the obituaries, afraid what he might find, but desperate for an answer. That had been too much blood. There was no way the kid had just went home and slept it off. He shouldn't have been up on that roof. He shouldn't have even been upright. Hisashi noticed something was bothering him, but he hadn't told his husband what it was. Hisashi had a soft spot for kids, and was sure to worry about him even more than it had Shota. There was no point, not unless he had answers. He couldn't get the picture out of his mind. Curly, dark hair matted with blood, one half of his face dark with it, black crack and blank eyes, his head tilted to the side. He'd just started to accept that he would never know, that kid was just going to be one of those mysteries that never got solved. When he showed up again, it was just like last time. Shota was on the roof, the same roof, and one minute he was alone, the next there was a boy sitting right next to him. No sound, no movement, in the air. Jesus fuck, kid, how did you do that? Shota had a brief thought that maybe he shouldn't be swearing so much around a kid, but he figured the damage was already done, and he spent enough time trying not to swear in front of the kids at school. If the kid was going to be out on the street at 3 in the morning, he was going to hear a couple of grown-up words. The kid looked up at him with the same blank expression as last time, face still covered in blood. Well, that was interesting. Maybe that had something to do with his quirk as well? I've been worried about you. That's a lot of blood. Does it hurt? The kid opened his mouth. Just like last time, no sound came out. He looked frustrated, but looked up at Shota and shook his head gently. Well, that's something. I kind of want to take you to a hospital anyway. Want me to look at it to see if I can clean it? The kid looked amused and reached a hand out towards Shota. It went right through his knee. Oh, right. Shit. Are you sure you're okay? The kid paused, then shrugged. He didn't look like he was in pain, although he couldn't speak. His response times were normal, and his eyes seemed to be properly focused. He didn't appear to have trouble moving his head. Concluding that the kid wasn't in immediate danger, Shota allowed himself to relax a little. He still wanted answers, though, afraid to take his eyes off the kid in case he vanished again. He tried to decide how to phrase his questions so they could be answered non-verbally. I'd ask your name, but... The kid made a series of motions with his hands and looked at Shota questioningly. What? He shifted his hands into the light and did it again, and Shota recognized what he was doing. Is that a sign? Well, shit, that makes things easier. The kid's eyes lit up, and his hands moved faster. I'm really out of practice. I can understand fingerspelling and a few basic signs. Spell your name, maybe? The kid nodded and spelled each syllable slowly, which Shota appreciated. Izuku. Nice to meet you, Izuku. I'm Shota. You wouldn't want to give me your full name, would you? Izuku shrugged and looked a little sheepish. Worth a shot. Does that mean you're not supposed to be out here? I'm not trying to get you in trouble. I just want to make sure you're safe. Izuku gave him what Shota guessed was meant to be a reassuring smile and spelled, safe. Shota sighed. It would have to do. So what, do you live around here or something? For some reason, Izuku found that funny. He giggled silently and shook his head. What are you doing then, here? The roof of a commercial building at 3 in the morning is an unusual hangout spot. Izuku averted his eyes and shrugged. Maybe he didn't want to answer, or maybe the answer was too complicated to spell. Shota was going to double down on his sign language lessons just in case. He was just about to ask for clarification when his pager buzzed. Robbery in progress. 4 blocks north. Kid, I gotta go. Duty calls. I'm going to keep working on my sign, and we're going to have a real conversation next time, okay? Not that I think you should be hanging around here, but... Will you be here again? Izuku smiled and nodded fervently. He stayed perched on the edge of the roof and waved as Shota leapt away. What kind of quirk would make someone intangible, mute, and appear covered in blood? Hisashi blinked at him from across the dinner table. Sho? I asked how the noodles taste. They taste like noodles. Now answer my question. Hisashi sighed. Is this a riddle or something? What are you talking about? Shota figured he might as well let Hisashi in on the story. It seemed like the kid wasn't in danger or anything, and he needed help working out the puzzle. It's this kid I've met a couple times on patrol. At first I thought he was hurt really badly because half of his face was covered in blood. At least it looks like blood. But he says it doesn't hurt, and he looked exactly the same when I saw him a few weeks later. Some kind of illusion quirk? Did you try erasing it? No, I didn't want to scare him. Plus, I don't know what it would do to him if he was a projection or something. I've never heard of a projection quirk like that, but it makes sense. Tell me again what you know. Well, there's blood. When he talks, he doesn't make any sound. Actually, he doesn't make any noise when he moves either. It's like he's literally vanishing and appearing out of thin air, and when I try to touch him, my hand goes straight through. Hisashi was staring at him like he was stupid. Chill, babe. You're describing a ghost. Like, textbook apparition. Shota scoffed. Yeah, sure, but this is real life. Do you think maybe that his quirk is something like that? I've never heard of a ghost quirk, but it would make sense. No, wait. I mean, it totally could be a quirk, but it sounds like you met a ghost kid. He leveled a glare at his husband. Ghosts aren't real, Sashi. Our boss is a talking rat. We are friends with engines in his arms. One of our coworkers has a telekinetic control over blood, and you draw the line at ghosts. But those are quirks, Zashi. That's science. That's biology. Ghosts are like magic. Life after death. Totally different. Hizashi looked dubious. If you say so. Say it's a quirk then. Have you asked him? No, we got interrupted last time. I need to brush up on my sign. Hizashi gave him a questioning look. He doesn't talk, remember? So all I've been getting is head shakes, shrugs, and finger spelling. Luckily, he seems proficient, but it's been years since I used it regularly. Help me practice? Sure thing, babe. One of these days I'm gonna see a spider and blow out your eardrums, and you'll be glad you did this. Shota snorted and went back to his dinner. The noodles are great, Sashi. I know, babe.
Eraserhead. How many middle schools in Mufasa use a Garakan? Suguchi. Is this the start to some weird joke? Did Miss Joke steal your phone again? It's not a very good joke. Eraserhead. I'm seriously asking. Suguchi. Why are you asking me? Do you think I have detailed knowledge of middle school uniforms? Should I be offended? Eraserhead. It's the kid. Suguchi. The one you met on the rooftop last month? I'm sorry, Eraser, but we looked into it and didn't find anything. Eraserhead. I saw him again and I got to talk to him a little. Kid's got some kind of weird quirk. Eraserhead. I don't think the blood is real. It was still there, but he was fine. Tsuguchi. But do you still want to look into him? Eraserhead. Something isn't right. If a kid makes a habit of sitting on the edge of a roof at 3 a.m., plus the blood, it's still concerning. Eraserhead. I got a name. Zuku. Tsuguchi. Seriously? That's it? Eraserhead. He's maybe 5'3", thin build, light skin, dark curly hair. Tsuguchi. You know, there are better ways to request information than texting a detective in the middle of the night. Like, there are forms you can fill out and everything. Eraserhead. I don't do paperwork, you know this. Tsuguchi. Believe me, I know. Tsuguchi. Fine, I'll put one of the newbies on it. This is low priority though, unless you honestly believe he's in immediate danger. Tsuguchi. Don't forget we have an active investigation onto a drug trafficking ring. Eraserhead. I'm literally arresting the traffickers right now. How convenient. Tsuguchi. What the fuck, Eraser? Are you kidding me? Tsuguchi. I just got Sansa's call. Seriously, why are you texting me right now? Do your job. Eraserhead. All I'm saying is it looks like your workload got a little lighter. Maybe if you have a little extra time for the kid? Tsuguchi. Do your paperwork tonight and maybe we'll talk.
It was another few weeks before Shota saw Izuku again. He checked the roof at the same time every night just in case, but there was no sign of him. Then, just like the last two times, Shota turned to his left and all of a sudden the kid was just there. How do you keep doing that? Izuku shrugged, a hint of a smile on his lips. Seriously, is that your quirk? It would be great for underground heroics. The kid's face fell and he shook his head. I've been practicing my sign, see? His hands were clumsy, but the language had came back to him easier than he'd expected. I'm out of practice, but I'm better at understanding than signing. That sparked a 180 in Izuku's mood. His face lit up, and he signed too quickly for Shota to understand. Cool, wood, heroics, stealth, useful, quirks. Slow down, kid. That's a little too fast for me. Is it okay if I keep talking? You saw my sign. I can hear just fine. Just can't make sound. Okay, thanks. They sat in silence for a moment, both clearly unsure how to continue. Shota broke the silence first. So, if it's not stealth, what is your quirk? Shota's money was on some kind of projection quirk. He'd never heard of anything like it, but it would explain why Shota couldn't touch him and why he couldn't speak. Izuku made a face like the question hurt him. I'm quirkless, that's why... The kid gestured to himself, indicating his whole situation. Nothing had ever made less sense to Shota. I don't get it, kid. That's obviously a quirk. Or did someone else use their quirk on you? Izuku tilted his head to the side again. Even farther this time, he looked incredulous. His eyebrows were drawn together, and his chin jutted out ever so slightly, like Shota was missing something obvious. The kid's face screamed, "Are you fucking stupid?" Well, he probably wouldn't have used those exact words. Shota desperately wanted to ask Izuku to spell it out, but right now, at that moment, of fucking course, a scream rang out and an explosion sounded in the distance. He groaned and rolled his eyes, but leapt into action almost immediately. We are not done with this problem, child, okay? I'll be back. Izuku waved at him as he leapt away.
Tsukuyoshi, I have a lead on your kid. Eraserhead, don't be a tease, just hand it over. Tsukuyoshi, Jesus, man. Fine. Tsukuyoshi, it's weird though, I don't think you'll like it. Tsukuyoshi, it could be completely unrelated, but so far this is all that turned up. Tsukuyoshi sent Midoriya I082357.zip. Eraserhead, I don't understand. What? Tsukuyoshi, there are only 2 middle schools within the area that wear Garakens, and only one kid named Izuku who came anywhere close to your description. Eraserhead, there's a death certificate in here. Tsukuyoshi, Izuku Midoriya committed suicide 6 months ago by jumping off the roof of the Gato building in the commercial district. Tsukuyoshi, maybe your kid is a relative or a friend trying to feel closer to him somehow? Tsukuyoshi, morbid, but grief is weird, you know? Eraserhead, this is a picture of Izuku. Tsukuyoshi, yeah, it's his school ID photo. Eraserhead, no, you don't understand. This is him. This is my kid. Tsukuyoshi, a relative then? Family resemblance? Eraserhead, maybe. ... Tsukuyoshi, I don't get paid enough for this. If you prove the existence of an afterlife, call me then. Tsukuyoshi, do your paperwork.
Shota really wanted to believe Tsukuyuchi's explanation of a kid trying to be closer to his dead relative by, wearing his school uniform and dangling his feet off the edge of the roof he jumped from at 3 in the morning. Midoriya's Izuku's file only listed his mother as family. No father or siblings. The likelihood of the kid having an identical cousin was non-existent. And then there was the blood. He'd never believed in ghosts or magic or astrology. That was Sasashi's thing. Shota preferred to build up his worldview on facts, logic, and evidence. Well, the evidence was piling up. Shota didn't dare bring it up with Hisashi, but his husband definitely knew something was up. He tried to play his mood off as frustration that he hadn't seen Izuku lately. Not a total lie, but he knew he was going to crack eventually. Maybe he could talk to the kid first? Maybe it was something obvious explanation that he was missing. Shota couldn't stop picturing the look that the kid had given him last time, like Shota had tripped over the answer and still missed it. His opportunity finally came when Shota felt but only a few days away from giving in and asking Sasashi to pull out his Ouija board. Shota had been spending more and more time on the rooftop. He'd checked. It was definitely the one where Midoriya had jumped from. When Izuku finally showed up, it was once again completely without warning. Shota had been scanning the horizon, and when he looked to his left, there was the kid. Poof! Out of nowhere. Shota had been at his wit's end for a week, so he figured he could be excused for just blurting it out at the kid as soon as he showed up. Are you a fucking ghost? Izuku's eyes went wide, and he was frozen for a moment, then he burst out laughing. Well, it was totally silent, but Shota could tell it must have been a loud laugh. Don't laugh at me, kid. I'm just trying to figure you out, and I can't. Izuku collected himself together enough to sign. I thought you knew. You thought I knew that you're a ghost? Are you fucking with me? The kid made that face again, the one that gave off major, you are an actual idiot vibes. He then stood up and turned so that he was facing Shota head-on, gesturing to himself. Shota quickly realized that he'd only ever seen one side of the kid. He always appeared on Shota's left, so Shota only ever saw his right side. In his face, when they were looking at each other, he definitely would have remembered the kid's left side, the bloody side. Izuku's left arm was beyond fucked up. His elbow was bent all wrong, and there was a bone sticking out from his wrist. His sleeve was torn, exposing a shoulder covered in abrasions. His leg was wrong too, but it was less noticeable. Until Izuku tried to walk, his knee didn't seem to cooperate, and upon closer inspection, Shota realized it was bent the wrong way. He wasn't wearing any shoes, just socks, one right and one stained red. How had he missed this? When Shota tore his eyes away from Izuku's mangled limbs and up to his eyes, the kid looked like he was torn between laughing and crying. He settled for a timid smile and sat back down on the ledge next to his Shota. You didn't notice? It's a huge blow to my pride, but yeah, I had no idea. I only ever saw the one side of you. Plus, it's dark. Plus, ghosts aren't real. What am I then? Shota sighed. Well, I didn't think ghosts were real. I guess I didn't either until, you know. Are you Midoriya Izuku then? Izuku had a surprised look, and then a look of understanding crossed his face. He looked me up. Can you blame me? I didn't think I would have figured out the ghost thing if it weren't for the death certificate. Izuku winced. Sorry, I don't know the etiquette. Bad topic? That got a laugh out of the kid. Not really. I'm sorry you found out that way. I would have told you if I'd realized. Izuku wasn't looking at Shota anymore, instead facing the city like he was looking at something far away. Then it hit Shota that he was talking to a kid who had killed himself 6 months ago. Have you been up here the whole time then? Since then? Izuku turned back to Shota. Not entirely. I can leave, but I like to sit here and think. Sometimes I sleep, and I think a lot of time passes, but I don't know how much. He paused and gave Shota a considering look. Not many people can see me, and most of them don't see me for very long. You're the only person who's tried to talk to me. That made Shota's heart ache. 6 months this kid had been alone after what was presumably one of the worst days of his life. No one to talk to, no one to help him through it, no peace. Well, I'm glad I did. I'll talk or listen, whenever you want. Thank you, Eraserhead. That surprised Shota so much he nearly fell off the ledge. I didn't tell you my hero name, did I? Izuku giggled silently. No, but I don't know your sign name, so I just used Eraser and Head. Shota rolled his eyes. I got that part, but how did you know who I am? Most pros don't know who I am, let alone middle school kids. You're one of my favorite heroes. I was a big hero nerd. I found out about you. I dug up as much information as I could find. I recognized your goggles and your scarf. Well, I guess I'm flattered. There are a lot of flashier heroes out there, though. I know. That's why I'm a fan. You have high rescue rates and really low collateral damage, which is much more important than a flashy quirk. You fight mostly quirkless. Your quirk just levels the playing field, and it doesn't even make a difference against mutation quirks. You rely on hand-to-hand combat and strategy. You fight smart. That's the kind of hero I wanted to be. Shota didn't have fans, but this kid's praise gave him such a warm feeling. Was this how Hisashi felt when he talked to his fans? Maybe it wasn't so bad, or maybe it was just Izuku. He then processed the last thing the kid said. You wanted to be a hero? I know it's stupid. I guess I decided to be realistic, and here we are. Well, that was dark. Kid, Izuku, it's not stupid. Why would it be stupid? I'm quirkless, remember? Do you really think someone could be a hero without a quirk? Shota answered no hesitation. Yes, of course. Like you just said, I fight mostly quirkless. Fighting smart and making split-second decisions, knowing how and when to act. They're all way more important than a quirk. Izuku like he'd been punched in the gut. It was eerie to see the kid crying without making a sound. I wish it was you I met here 6 months ago instead. Instead? Of what? Izuku bit his lips and averted his eyes. I met someone who told me I couldn't be a hero. I've heard it all my life. Or I did. But it was different hearing it from my hero. My hero. Shota's mouth was dry. Is that why? Izuku was quick to wave his hands in protest before stilling them to sign. It was already a terrible day. I got beat up at school and my friend told me to jump off a roof. Then I got attacked by a villain. Izuku stopped himself and took what looked like a deep breath. But yeah, I guess that's what pushed me over the edge. No pun intended. He dropped me up here, told me to be realistic, and just left. It was a lot of things. You can't blame him for this, but that was the last straw. There was so much to unpack there. Was there any therapist that accepted ghost clients? Something to look into. Focus. That's bullshit, kid. Like, seriously fucked up. Pardon the language, kid. Izuku laughed and waved it off. I wish I had met you then too. I think you would have made a great hero. Izuku absolutely erupted into tears. He sniffled silently, of course, and wiped his eyes somehow, without disturbing the blood on his face. After he'd composed himself a little, he gave Shota the absolute brightest smile he'd ever seen on anyone living or dead. It was so serene, Shota was afraid the kid might pass right then and there. Shit, was that a possibility? When a few seconds passed, with no heavenly light or angelic trumpets, Shota breathed a sigh of relief. He supposed he should have wanted the kid to have some peace, but he wasn't ready to say goodbye yet. Maybe he could get a few more smiles out of the kid before they had to think about that. That gave Shota an idea. Hey Zuko, how far can you go from this building? I haven't found the limit yet, and I walked for 2 days straight once. Excellent. Still a hero fanboy? Everyone except Endeavor and All Might. Zuko covered his mouth perplexingly, even though he'd been speaking with his hands. Shota guessed he hadn't meant to let the name slip. Well, that gave him a couple of clear leads on who to charge with reckless endangerment of a child. Something for later. For now, he had a ghost kid to entertain. No arguments here. Where does Present Mike rank? Izuku was practically jumping up and down. I love Present Mike. I used to listen to his radio show every night. His quirk is so cool. Did you know anything about his support items? Does the speaker amplify his voice or just direct it? Does his quirk work underwater? I don't know. Want to go ask him? Notes. I have no idea what I wrote. I just know that I love it, and it got me out of my writer's block. What's the vibe here? Is it sad? Is it light? Is it funny? Is it anything? I don't have any plans to continue the story, but I've decided that Ghost Izuku becomes a support analyst and helps out all the pros. I don't know. Maybe I'll write it. Maybe not. 5/26/22. Making some small edits for accuracy/continuity. I love this fic, but some of these things keep me up at night. And that was Summons Forgotten by human_person234. Thank you for listening, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. See you next week.